all these things that I would normally do to de-stress, all of my coping mechanisms have now been taken away. And I just sat there in this ball of rage because I couldn't do anything about not finding this remote control. And I'm sitting there literally just shaking, and I'm shaking and I'm crying and I cannot do anything. And it was like, you're going to have to find a way because this isn't sustainable.
Wow.
Because I never used to speak about anything.
Welcome to the Funny in Failure podcast, a podcast that celebrates failure and shines the light on the emotional side of comedy and life with yours truly, Michael Kahan. Holy moly, this chat is epic and a lot of fun. Emmanuel has lived an incredible life with a wild health journey. It's very inspiring and a little frightening. Plus his learnings from this experience and life is beautiful to hear. From musical theatre to IT, being a bouncer and now a comedian, plus everything else that he's done. It was crazy to hear how all of these have all informed and helped with his comedy. Emmanuel was great to chat with. He's humble, funny, and reflective. I could have spoken to him for many more hours. His stories are great, deep, and reflective. All the tools for an incredible chat. Emmanuel will also be in Melbourne for the Comedy Festival, so check it out. Tickets are in the episode notes. Okay, cool. Let's get into it. Emmanuel Sonubi is an award-winning stand-up comedian, TV personality, presenter, actor, and writer. He is one of UK's most in-demand comedians whose rise through the UK comedy scene has been rapidly and widely celebrated. Since making his debut in 2016, he's progressed from open mic nights to headlining major venues and hosting the iconic BBC stand-up showcase live at the Apollo. You may have also seen him on QI, Celebrity Mastermind, The John Bishop Show, Comedy Central Live, Pointless Celebrities, Have I Got News For You, Unforgiveable, The Stand-Up Sketch Show, plus more. So as you can imagine, we dive deep and we cover a lot, and we chat about being a bouncer and the reason he left, nearly dying and his health journey, never having a bad gig, his unique start to comedy, speaking up and not arguing, quitting entertainment and why he came back, writing joke journals for his kids, doing an hour set with only 20 minutes material, not lying, envy, plus plenty more. Before we get into this epic chat, I'd love it if you would share the podcast, like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps grow the podcast and ensures I can lock in amazing guests like this one. Okay, cool. Thanks so much. Let's get into it. Oh, this could be a good place to start. You've had many jobs in your life outside of stand-up comedy and musical theatre. You've been a hairdresser, a dance teacher, you've done dance battles, you've done sales, IT, you're a bouncer, you're a rugby coach for your son. What are the best jobs there and what are the worst ones?
So the worst job actually isn't listed on there. I mean, I was a bouncer in nightclubs. That was relatively fun, I'll be honest.
Oh, really?
However, yeah. But at one point, and this was kind of a low point for me, I was a retail security guard in a fancy grocery store called Waitrose, which is very much like the Waitrose in the UK is like, it's expensive for no reason. It's the same stuff in every other shop, but it's just 20% more. And like normally we'll have like the shop's own brand stuff, which is more expensive than the branding stuff. And I was a security guard for one of their stores. And it is by far the worst job I've ever done. I've done door-to-door sales in the rain where it's commission only. This was much worse.
What made it so bad outside of the outrageous pricing?
It was just, well, for one, the people you're dealing with. You're dealing with people who will happily go and, I think the equivalent would probably be they'd go and spend like $1,000 a week on just their grocery shopping.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Wow.
like it was nothing as well. Like if I'm spending that much money on food shopping, if I get to the checkout and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's $1,000," I'm putting so many things back. But they were like, yeah, there's no problem.
So was it like a sense of entitlement? Were they rude to you? What was some of the worst?
They could be like, so if you, I mean, most people are generally nice, but it's when it's like one extreme to the other. So people will be really nice, but when they're entitled, they're really entitled, and you're not allowed to like push them over and stuff, which you want to do. You're not allowed to, obviously. And also, when you're dealing with shoplifters, there is a big part of you that goes, this isn't my stuff. I don't care. You're not stealing from me. And also, you really understand why people steal. And it changes your perception of theft. So one of them, which was it was actually quite sad to watch, especially at Christmas when it gets really cold in the UK, which you lot would know nothing about. I've heard what
I've seen in winter. It's horrible.
Oh, I've seen what you guys call cold in Melbourne, and I'm like, this is we come over there and we're like, this is a lovely day, and everyone's like, it's freezing.
It's probably
not freezing. Yeah, pretty much. And if I'm going to tell you what the current weather is right now, and this is like the sun is shining. This is a really lovely day right now, and currently, the weather right now is 8 degrees. It's 8 degrees, and we're going to have a high of 16 degrees today.
16's great.
And we're all like, this is such a lovely day. There'll be people with convertibles that will have their roof down today. Like idiots.
I just want to commend you. Thank you for not being American. Whenever I have these conversations with my American guests, I'm doing like the most intense maths to try and figure out what the degrees are, and I have no idea. Thank you for using the metric system. But also 16 degrees is lovely, but 8 degrees is probably on the lower end for our winter.
Yeah, I'll go out there on a singlet today on this now. But yeah, so it'd be in normally winter time, we would get homeless people coming in to steal purely just to get caught, so they'd be arrested and taken to a cell, so they'd have somewhere to sleep where it wasn't too cold.
Yeah.
So they knew what they were doing. They would take something expensive enough to have us call the police, which was quite a sad thing to watch when you go, that's somebody's choice.
I know. What a failure of all of our systems as well. And I'm sure that would have changed your worldview. Are you almost, because you know the game as well, so you're doing them a favor by catching them and calling the police or whatever.
Yeah. And it was like literally, oh no, I caught you again. And they would just happily like to ask you, call the police.
Wow. And then in terms of because you've also been a bouncer, in terms of the more violent stuff, did that happen a lot, or was it more situations like that?
It would be for retail. Retail never really got violent. It was just boring. It was just really, really boring. Yeah. 8 hours stood there doing nothing. But with the nightclubs, even that nightclubs, because people do think it's non-stop fights. It's not that. With nightclubs, I reckon 90% of the time, it's a good night. Nothing happens. But then you've got this 1%, this 10% of the time. What bad math? 90% and 1%, no. 10% of the time is when it would normally, something would happen, it would kick off. But even then, you're not really fighting. You're more splitting things up. It feels like babysitting more than anything.
I saw your bit about babysitting and being a bouncer. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. You're just looking after other people's drunk babies.
And you mentioned that the retail security was boring. What made this more interesting? Was it just funny to see drunk people interact, speak with your mates?
It's hilarious. For one, you're going to work with your friends. So you've got this sort of every weekend, we're in a club anyway, but now we're just being paid for it.
Oh, so can you like dance and chill a little bit?
I mean, you can, but no one wants to see that. You can't really exert your authority when I've been jumping up and down to Backstreet Boys, and then I'm asking you for ID. Like, no one's taking you seriously for that one.
Hilarious.
But I really wanted to. Yeah, I really wanted to. There was times they'd be playing songs that I really like, and I'm stood there like, I want to dance, but you can't because you've got this persona of the big tough bouncer.
Was that actually, I want to pigeonhole this. I used to be a security guard, which surprises everyone. I mainly did schools and community events and things like that. And there is nothing worse than standing there, and you're not allowed on your phone, even though I was on my phone half the time. There is nothing worse than just standing there. And if you don't have your mates, it is one of the worst. I did it for a little bit. It was horrible. And yeah. So I feel your pain.
It becomes so boring.
So what did you do I would just make up games, like count how many leaves there are, or like the stupidest thing. Oh, is this person going to come at this time? How did you keep yourself sane? Because in my opinion, being bored is the worst.
There's either daydreaming is a big one. And then I would completely zone out and realize that I hadn't moved for 4 minutes or spoken to anyone. I'd give regular customers nicknames. That was all fun. Yeah. I would go on little walking routes around the shop pretending to be doing stuff.
That's smart.
Yeah, it was the worst. And a lot of cigarette breaks.
Oh, that would be such a bad habit. Did you ever just try and start conversations with people? Then when the conversation naturally ended, you're like, no, and then you just start a conversation that didn't actually need to continue just because you're so mind-numbingly bored? Because I definitely.
That was a game that we'd play. So every now and again, you'd double up on shifts.
Okay.
So you'd have more than one guard. And our game was, how long can you keep a random person talking?
That's great.
That was fun.
PB?
Oh, I got people to do a couple of minutes as well. But that's the thing. That's like a good on few minutes, because it sells. You ask them about themselves, and now they want to talk.
Yeah.
So that was the easiest way.
But at the same time, yes, we'll talk about sales and what you did as well. Often when people go into these retail stores, they're in a rush. I guess in sales as well, they're in a rush as well. I don't know about you. I assume more people than not have a rough idea of why they're there. So they kind of want to get the thing and go. So it's even harder, I would imagine, or sales is sales.
Yeah, especially if they're during the day and a lot of the people that were going there, you would get, anyone that was shopping during the day could afford to be there during the day.
Yeah.
So they would, like, time has no consequence to them. They would walk around completely as they wanted to.
That's so great. I've got more questions. I think I've maybe only had one security guard in over 300 podcasts. So this is just a joy in the saddest way possible for me to relive these horrible moments in my life. I never had anything bad, and we'll talk about more of the bouncing stuff. But bouncing is very different to being a security guard. When the bouncers say, sorry, we don't like your shoes, or your shoes don't fit, is that the biggest load of BS? Is that like the line you're told to say when you don't want someone to come into the club?
Oh no, sometimes I genuinely mean it. The funny thing was, when I first started as a bouncer, nightclubs, you had to be smart. You had to wear shoes. So it was shoes, trousers, and you couldn't have a shirt with an outer collar. So there was a strict dress code.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, there was less trouble when there was a strict dress code. Because if you're wearing your nicest clothes, people are less likely to get into a fight.
Yeah.
And then, so people will turn up with trainers on, and you're like, sorry, mate, there's no trainers. And they'd go, yeah, but these are designer trainers. Yeah, but they're still trainers. I'm not questioning where you bought them. I'm questioning what they are.
Yeah.
And then after a while, and that was just the club's rule, no trainers for whatever reason. You want to keep it smart. But then as the years sort of went on and people were like, clubs became more casual settings and trainers became smarter and you were allowed jeans, then it would be, you're just too scruffy. Like, you don't look great. Which, looking back now, is such a weird judgment to make because we became the fashion police.
Yeah, that's so outside of your scope of what your job is as well.
Yeah.
So the shoes is generally, when you say that, that's not just like your go-to BS line. Did you have like a BS line if you didn't want someone in besides being too drunk?
So I never went with any sort of crap. I just didn't like people. If I don't like the look of you, I'm not letting you in. I'm not. I couldn't. It was the risk, but that only really happened with, I'd say, large groups of guys. Any more than five guys, then you're probably. It's like, and even the police do it as well. They have like the attitude test. So you'll just have a quick conversation with them, and depending on how they respond to you, that's going to be directly determine if they're getting in or not. So if we have a conversation and you're polite and you're coherent and there's sort of no attitude there, you'll probably get in.
Interesting. Always wondered, like one time, and I've definitely let this go. I think I was with 5 girls, just me, and Vans at the time. Vans shoes were popular, and I gone to this club every week, and they didn't let me in because of my Vans shoes. And I was like, "There's no." I don't even think I started drinking yet, and they said, "Sorry, you can't wear those shoes." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I come here every week." And then they're like, "No, you're arguing." I'm like, "I'm not arguing. I just beat it every week. I used to be a club promoter at the club," and they're like, "The girls can come
Yeah.
in, not you." I'm like, "Oh, really? Is there any way to, once that's happened, is there any way to reverse that situation?"
Probably, but anytime like when I go out, because I've been in that position. For one, I hate queuing. So if there's a long queue for a club, I'm just not going. I really can't be bothered to deal.
This was a long
No,
time ago. I've gone clubbing at all.
yeah, I'm like, no club is that great that I'm going to queue for an hour to get in and listen to a DJ play someone else's songs. Like, I don't care.
Oh yeah.
It's so if I and when I see bouncers with an attitude, I don't want to be around you as much as you don't want to be around me. So I'll just leave. Like, it really doesn't matter. No club is that great.
Interesting. I've got so many more questions than this. Don't worry, we'll cover a lot. There's also this club that it feels so embarrassing to say this because this is the worst. The worst title or job is to be a club promoter. And I was a club promoter at this one club, and they apparently had like a bash room where there were no cameras in the room, where they take out people.
A bash room, that is hilarious.
They called it something else. I called it the bash room, but it was basically no cameras, and they take like the, probably inverted commas, the naughtiest, most badly behaved dudes, and they would just bash them at the back and then throw them out because there were no cameras.
Yeah.
Is that a thing that you experienced?
Oh, it's definitely, oh, not that I've experienced so much, but there's definitely a thing, because you can't have cameras everywhere.
Yeah, but it seemed to be deliberately designed so that these situations could happen.
Oh God, yeah. So there would be like fire exits. You'd have a camera at the top of the fire exit, and then nothing all the way down around the back, and then another camera at the bottom. So there's a whole sort of blind spot of how they came out of the nightclub.
Wow.
But that our rule, when it came to being bouncers, the one rule that we always had was never throw the first punch. We didn't start fights. That's not why you're there. You're a deterrent.
Yeah.
You're a deterrent, and I also like, I don't like fighting. It's one of the reasons I stopped being a bouncer, because you become so desensitized to being around sort of violence and fights, and I was like, I just don't want that.
Smart. Someone I know was a prison guard, and he was the happiest,
Yeah.
loveliest human on the planet. And part of his soul, not saying they're the same, part of his soul went missing doing that job because he was not the same. And he talks about, now he's like, it's taken him a while. And I know there was an incident with you, which was unbelievably messed up. How did you go getting back to like feeling yourself? Was it just quitting and then living life, or did it take a while?
It was, it didn't take a while at all, because when I quit being a bouncer, my son was only, he was less than a year old.
Yep.
And that made it worse, because now I didn't want to go to work, but I had to go to work because you need money. So I'm already in a bad mood just because I don't want to be there. So everything's heightened now. Things that would normally vex me a little bit have now really started to anger me. for no reason, just because I know I don't want to be there. And then we had this new owner of the nightclub who was we didn't like him. And this one night, he before we started the shift, actually, he pulled all of the security into the office, and he went, "So guys, I want to have a quick talk about the clientele of the club. Now, just so you know, I'm not racist," which is how everyone who's not racist starts the conversation.
What a crazy way to start a sentence.
Yeah. So as soon as he said that, "I'm not racist," we're like, "It's fine, guys. He's not racist. He just said so." But we're like, "Oh, okay, there it is." I'm not racist, but I don't want it to. I don't want from now on. I don't want too many blacks in. I don't want too many Greeks, too many Asians. I want to keep it quite local. And we were like, "So white people." And he was like, "No, I'm not racist. I'm not racist. I used to promote R&B clubs." I was like, "That doesn't make you not racist."
What is what?
And like he said, it was such conviction. Like he fully meant it.
Face.
Yeah, like he was like, "How can you possibly think I'm racist? I listen to R&B." And then he just went, "No, I just don't want to keep it quite local." And I was just stood there going, "Why are we here?" I was like, "Guys, I'm going home," and I just left. And then so did everybody. We all just left.
Oh, literally
All
just a massive walkout.
Yeah, at that point we just quit. We're like, "Right, I'm going home." I was like, "I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm leaving." And that was literally it. I was like, "I'm done. I do not. No job is worth this crap." And it was instant, because now the next day when I was meant to be at work, I was sat home with my son.
How beautiful. Also, kudos to you as well. Obviously, horrible situation, and I assume the club probably didn't survive. One, not having any security guards, but two, also, with that attitude and mentality.
Well, the funny thing, sorry, I was gonna say the funny, the funny thing was, and I say funny, it wasn't funny, but it was. We ran quite a tight ship, so there was we got to the point where there was basically no trouble, because we knew everyone, and everyone in that club and from that area now knew us, because this specific club, we took that door to clean up the club, because a friend of mine actually bought the club, and he called me down to come and work there. Yeah, I took a team with me, because their bouncers, the bouncers they had before us were useless. So then we came down there to sort of tidy up the club, which we did. So we got it from a point where there was fights every week to there was no fights.
Oh, nice.
And I think maybe 3 weeks after we left, someone got the hand cut off. Yeah, it was really bad. And then someone not long after that got shot, and the club closed down.
That's also in UK or I don't know where you were. Were you in London?
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Getting guns there is extremely hard, I've heard as well.
Yeah, whoa. It was at this time as well, and the irony was, it was all white people.
Can you see obviously it's not a situation we want anyone to be in, but you're smiling now. Can you see the humor in this whole situation? Obviously you don't like violence.
And we knew the people. There were the people that we wouldn't let into the club as well. There's people we'd barred from the club, and now they're allowed in. And I was like, this is why.
Did that person get caught and go to jail?
Oh no! So the person that cut the hand off, literally hit with a machete and the hand had to go. That person then a few weeks later got shot for doing that.
Okay, this
was something that went back and forth for so long, and then so that person went into hiding, and then they got shot.
Oh, I'm glad that you got out when you got out, and that's crazy. I've got so many more questions on this, but we'll see how we go. What was it like? Because I know you were doing musical theatre at the time as well, and that's softer, you're more creative, you're using a different side of the brain. And then you go to being a bouncer afterwards, where you do, I know you're not a fighter in that regard, but you need to be a bit hard, a bit tense. You are a bit on edge, more dangerous. Was that a hard mental transition to do, or could you just flick the the switch?
No, for me, it was like flicking the switch, which again was another reason why I didn't want to be a bouncer, because I was like, that shouldn't be an easy thing to go and completely just switch off and do the job. Because that's the thing, it is we used to when we were kids, we used to play fight constantly. That was our love language as guys. Me and my friends have beaten the hell out of each other countless times.
Yeah.
And these are my close friends as well. And also sort of I come from a rugby background. So you're in so many games, something would happen, a fight would kick off. And I think, yeah, the older and the bigger I got, and the more I realized I could do, the less I wanted to do it. Because you don't realize you could really hurt someone without even meaning to. What if you fall wrong? There's been cases where somebody's been pushed and they fell backwards, hit the head on the curb, dead.
And that'd be the worst.
It's terrifying. You think you didn't even mean to do it, and now someone's passed because you got angry. It's like, even now, just generally, I think all my life experiences have made me so calm, purely because I know what worse looks like.
Wow. I want to also pigeonhole the calm, because you've become calm in other areas of your life through another situation. But I want to tie off this point. It's one thing when, someone is racist and obviously not great to work with, but when you've just had a child and money's involved, this is your job, that can be very stressful time of your life. So kudos to you for actually saying, because we can always rationalize and make things in our head, and I'd completely get it as well. Was it quite scary the next day when you realized that potentially you didn't have that job, or was it on to IT?
Not the next day. So I was working only in the evening, so I was already doing IT at the time. So at this point, I was working in IT during the week, bounce at the weekend, and I just started doing stand-up. So I was kind of doing all three at the one. And then, when it got to the point of me stopping being a bouncer, I was like, okay, well, if anything, I'll just try and do more comedy.
Okay. Let's do a timeline here, because you've done, as we said, so much in your life. I believe that at one stage in your life, when your child, your firstborn, I think, was born, you quit entertainment. And I'd love to know why you made that decision at the time and what your life looked like.
Oh, yeah. So at this point, this is actually when I had a barbershop, but I was still teaching dance. I was still auditioning. I was still chasing that entertainment dream. But I'd never thought of doing stand-up comedy at this point. Stand-up comedy wasn't an option. And when we found out we were expecting, that's when I thought to myself, I need stability. My child needs stability right now. I didn't want my son growing up with the same restrictions that I had. I wanted him to be a kid. I never got to be just a kid, because we'd all worked.
And you
ever since I was maybe 5 sisters.
I've
got 5 sisters. And so even with being sort of, I remember going out and trying to work at 12, 13, because everyone had to pull their part. We didn't have loads, and I didn't want that for my child. So and it wasn't even, do you know how you get some parents that are bitter that they've had to let go of a dream? This became a new dream. So I was quite happy to. I was like, we're just closing a chapter.
That's,
was like,
that's
just
very
literally, no, just closed. I was like, that chapter's done. Now we've got this new chapter. We've got this new dream. So it was even now, it's my privilege that I get to look after my kids.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I was happy to do it. And I went back to a company that I worked for years back in IT. And they welcomed me back. I went straight back into IT solution selling. And then on top of that, I was still working as a bouncer. And then it was a friend of mine who got, my friend Christina Canby, and she got a comedy course for her birthday. And this was the first time I went to see her, was their graduation. 10 comedians doing 5 minutes of stand-up at the end of the course. It was bad. It was a bad evening. She was great because Christina's just a naturally funny person. Christina's one of them people that could read the phone book and it's funny now. And I remember being there and she was like, oh, you should do it. Because I was like, this isn't great. Because even as a performer, regardless of the art, I know what a show's meant to look like. I know what it's meant to feel like. And I was like, all you're doing is you're just telling stories. That's it. But some of the stories people were trying to sell on stage just weren't believable, so they weren't funny to me.
Yeah.
And then a few of them were like, "Oh, have you ever thought of doing stand up?" I was like, "Absolutely not. Why would I do stand up?" They're like, "Oh, like Christine was going, like, you could easily do this. Like, you know how to perform." And I was like, but I'd never really thought of it. And I was like, I'm not doing it. And then she would not stop going on about it. So I was like, all right, I'll put my name down for this open mic night. Because I was like, I'm not doing a course. She was like, you don't have to. You just put your name down for an open mic. And if they've got space, they'll contact you. So I put my name down purely to shut her up. Because I was thinking, they must get loads of people. They're never going to contact me. And not long afterwards, I get an email back saying, yeah, we've got space. You come down. And I thought, all right, here we go. We've said I'm going to do it now. But what actually gave me the confidence is when I told my friends that I was doing this, none of them took the piss. Wow. Which is something all guys do. Like, if you do as much as buy a new t-shirt that we think is not the color for you, when you're going to be in a comedy roast now for that, like even now, there are things that my friends did 25 years ago that we still laugh at now. We're not
That's a great friendship group. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Like that. And what makes me laugh about, I started writing material about it because what boys will do is whatever it is you've done, we will make any word sound like an insult. Just by saying exactly what you've done for no, like, and you just say it in a, your friend will walk in, you go, oh, hello, new haircut. And that is it. Comedy roast now. Nothing even happened, but that small thing, now we're going to talk about it. And none of them did that.
And did you realize in that moment, you're like, oh, okay, that now like it's on. My friends haven't said anything.
Yeah. They believe I can do it. Maybe I can.
And you never thought about it before in all the entertainment things that you did.
No. And which is weird because I've always loved stand-up. I've always really enjoyed it. Oh, yeah. Eddie Murphy, Delirious. I have seen that show. I could probably recite that show.
You know what's so crazy to me, just as a side point, and then we'll come back to this story. You must have been one of at least 30 people to say that it was Eddie Murphy that was their like gateway drug. What an amazing... Like, imagine being Eddie Murphy, knowing that you've inspired so many people to stand up.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and you would have had that as well. Anyway, going back to your story. So when your friends don't tease you, you're like, okay, I'm doing this. What did that look like? Did you practice anything, or did you just get up on stage?
Oh no, I tried to write a set, and it was one of the worst things that I think has ever been committed to paper. I never did the first set that I wrote.
Yeah.
I've still got it in the book, scribbled out, but I can still see it. I never did the first set that I wrote because I wrote it, and originally I was like, this is hilarious. This might be the greatest set that's ever been written. And then I read it back the next day and I thought, what an idiot. How arrogant do you sound? I thought, this is the worst set. And then I started to panic because I only had a few days. and I had no idea what to write. I had to do 5 minutes. I didn't know how long 5 minutes would take to write. I didn't know how much words I needed for 5 minutes. And it was terrifying. And then I sort of took a step back, and I started writing a letter to my child. So in my notes, even now, I mean, this won't be on camera. So I've got all of these notebooks that I go to, that I will still write pen and paper.
And are these jokes or?
So these are jokes, but also these are letters to the kids, because they're going to read this at some point. So sometimes I will put things in there because I want them to have the memory of what I was thinking while I was writing. Because this is where they're going to grow up and get to really know me.
Yeah.
Because there was a day that my kids started asking me for a dog, and I wrote this whole set. I've got this whole set about them being absolutely useless people. And I know they're going to grow up to watch that will be on TV. They will be able to watch exactly what Daddy said about them. So I was like, right, let me write it down so they can know exactly what I was thinking. And even that one, I was like, kids, just so you know, this one was only 80% true. Just 80%.
Well, you're like, you dumb beep, 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 beep.
Yeah.
Who's going to look after this dog? You have no idea what's involved.
I literally put, if we get a dog, the reason I won't get a dog is because if we do, I will love that dog more than all of you.
That's the joke just there. You don't even, you just need that. Yeah.
I was like, you don't need to read
that. Yeah. What inspired the journal of sorts outside of the joke writing, but to write about the process behind the joke?
So that came later on, because originally it was just writing down I'd put notes into them. And then, so my first set was actually about finding out that I'm going to be a parent, because she was still pregnant at the time I did my first show. And that was really interesting, just because in the room, there's only a couple of types of people in the room. People that get what you're talking about and people that don't. So then it was like, the people that get what I'm talking about are already on board. So how do I get the people that don't know what I'm talking about on board? And that's where the joke comes in. Because I can get to the parents in the room, you know that feeling of what it feels like to find out you're expecting. People that don't know that feeling. So you're like, how can I make that relative to them? Which is where the comparison jokes come in. Because I remember, I think the first joke that I actually did on stage, one of them was, we found out we were expecting around Christmas. So everyone was like, oh my God, that must be the greatest present you could have ever asked for. I was like, well, it's not an Xbox, is it? I mean, it's good. I wanted an Xbox.
Yeah.
I was like, you can drop an Xbox.
Yeah. Wouldn't
and it was
kid, if it was was the kid born? Sorry for interrupting your joke. That was a great bit. Was born on Christmas?
No. So we found out at Christmas, but he was born in August.
Oh, being born on Christmas would suck.
Well, my birthday is New Year's Eve, which is the worst birthday ever. It's the worst for a few reasons. One, when I tell people it's my birthday New Year's Eve, they act like I'm lying. They're like, no way. I'm like, how? Let's do the math. There are 8 billion people on this planet, and there's only 365 days. The odds of a lot of people being born on, it's not special. It's just another day. And then also, and this is the worst part about being born on New Year's Eve, right? For example, when's your birthday?
September the 26th. Which is
right, so September the
26th. 9 months after New Year's. I'm doing the math.
Yeah. So you think September 26th. So when you were 29, you had your birthday on September the 26th, and for the rest of that year, you were going, oh, I'm 30 next year. Oh, no. When I would turn 29, I woke up and immediately I was like, I'm 30 this year. You lose that whole depression zone and jump straight to the next birthday. It's the worst.
I resonate with this. I have 3 friends that are born on New Year's, and it sucks because no one was around. Everyone would be away on family trips or whatever it is. No one ever celebrated their birthday. They missed, like, one of my friends, he like literally never had a birthday with his friends because someone were always away or his parents were away. And I was offended they didn't realize how bad their birthday was. I would explain it to them over the years, being like, no, you have the worst birthday ever. And they're like, oh, it's not too bad. I'm like, no, it's bad. I'm glad I'm going to play this little clip to them and remind
do you know what? You took a really long pause when you went, I've got 3 friends. I was like, that's a really weird brag, dude.
I wish. These are 3 people. I want to go back to, I'm jumping the gun, but I've also heard you on many podcasts, but in a modest way, say you've never had a bad gig before. And I hope that's still the case now.
Yeah, and it's terrifying.
Okay. Well, let's bookmark that. When you did your first few sets, were they good, or was it more like you because you had all the life experience from whether it was musical theatre? I'm sure even sales makes you a bit more aware.
Yeah.
All the jobs you've done, I assume, have helped you. Were you particularly good, or you just had cultivated some skills where you knew it wouldn't be that bad?
Both. So for one, doing musical theatre, and so I've explained to people because they're like, you must have died on stage. I was like, I've never died on stage, but I know the reason. The reason is I did theatre for years. I've performed for years. I had my bad shows in theatre. I made my mistakes then. So by the time I came to comedy, I already knew how to be on stage, even through nerves, which is what a lot of comedians spend their first couple of years trying to get better at, learning to be on stage. I'd already done that. So on stage was where I was already comfortable. And then it just became having confidence in your material.
Yeah.
And so, this is my ethos and things. I think there are 2 types of comedian. There's the comedian that comes on stage and goes, do you think I'm funny? And then there's the other comedian that comes on stage and goes, this is funny, let me show you why.
Yep.
So when you're the second one, I already know that this is funny. I'm just explaining it to you. So and it becomes this thing where it becomes more about the audience, that you're sharing something with them rather than trying to sell something to them. And it's
that takes
the thing
that pressure as well.
Yeah, hugely. Because you go, parenting is already funny. Let me tell you why I think this part is funny. And you're putting them, and like, even in my news show, I talk about the makeup of comedy, because it's not just the joke, it's the thing the joke reminds you of when you were in that situation.
Yeah.
And so now it's not just funny, the memory is funny to you.
You've demystified it for me, because I don't want to do stand-up. I kind of sort of dabbled in it. I really admire you guys have done improv. I do screenwriting. I will also talk about screenwriting with you if we've got a time. And I've always been like, how would I approach it? And literally, as you said that, I just had a light bulb go off in my head.
Yeah.
Because you simplified it so, not that, you can simplify stand-up comedy, but that just makes it so much easier.
But I think you can simplify it. I think everyone has got a type 5. I think everyone has got that story that is funny, and it's just going, how can I relate this story to you guys, so you know exactly what I was feeling at that point.
Yeah.
Which goes back to, there's 2 types of people in that audience: people that know what you're saying and people that don't. So there's a joke that I do about going to America. And so in that story, you've got, in the audience, you've got people that have been to America and people that haven't. It's literally, it can be that simple. So all I'm saying is, when you get to America, you have to complete an ESTA form. So all that's happening now, if you think, like, the people that know what you're talking about and people that don't are right now on their straight path. But then as soon as I say ESTA form, the people that don't know what that is start to deviate. So now I need to find a way to bring them back. So all I would do is, do you know when you go to America and you have to fill out an ESTA form? An ESTA form is that temporary visa application that gets you back into the country. Now everyone's on board because we all know what it is. And it's like one of those really weird health forms that you've got to fill out that asks you so many questions that you think, who the fuck came up with those? And then everyone goes, I know what kind of form that is straight away. So you're just keeping people in the room, but keeping them together.
Oh, that was great. And going back to what you said before around nerves, how you're like scared to potentially bomb as well. I'll give you a good example. Lost my voice for a sec. I believe you're an agent or manager. You're live at the Apollo.
Yeah. So when we started working together, because I'd never had a bad set, I've never died on stage, and even now this makes me that's where the nerves come from for me now, because every show in the back of my mind I'm thinking, is this going to be the bad show?
Do you just want to just bomb like a crap set and just get three people?
I tried that once. I thought, do you know what I'm gonna do? And it was on a pro night. I'm just gonna do. I had a load of new material that I'd never done before, and I thought, I'm just gonna do it. If it's gonna be bad, I'm just gonna do it. And I went on and did it, and it was great. I was like, well, that's annoying. I've learned nothing.
I will challenge you on that. Just while I think what you said was really important, and maybe it'll potentially help you with the nerves. Because, and I also heard this on other podcasts, because you probably stuffed up lines in musical theatre, you've come out the wrong time, you've, maybe missed things. All of these things that you've learned, especially in musical theatre, you've had, as you said, those bad gigs. So you have had your bad gig. So you don't.
Yeah, it just wasn't in comedy.
Yeah.
So, and that's exactly what I tell people. Like, I did one of my first dance shows. I didn't realise for 7 minutes that my flies were undone and my penis was showing a little bit.
That's one thing for your underwear to be.
Yeah.
The face, everyone has to watch the video of this because your face is unbelievable when you could.
Because who doesn't know that? Because I know, I remember exactly why that happened. It's because being a typical dude, I went to the toilet, forgot to do my flies up, and then I was scratching myself, and out of pure nerves, I did not realise that I'd actually pulled my jock to the side and not put it back.
I had a guest, and it's been enough time that I can bring this up. I haven't brought it up with him, but I didn't realise until maybe the last 5 minutes. Oh no, maybe 20 minutes. I won't give myself benefit of the doubt. And I couldn't tell if he was joking. He shaved half of his face. And so to this day, I was too scared to bring it up because then he might feel self-conscious. He might not want to continue. It's already done. What's the point? If you've already done an hour, just continue.
Yeah.
And to this day, I was also too scared to upload the video of it as well because I didn't want to see. But how do you not know if you've done half of your face? But yeah.
So do you know, once I did that on purpose. I was shaving my head, and basically I'd been at the gym, and I'd played rugby the day before, and the DOMs kicked in. The DOMs kicked in like in a real bad way. So my shoulder, delayed onset muscle soreness, and I was in the shower shaving my head, and my shoulders hurt so much that I just couldn't keep my hands up any longer. And I thought, do you know what? Fine, I'm done. And I'd only shaved half my head. And I just went to work. I was in the office as well. And everyone's like, dude, why have you only shaved half your head? I was like, my arms hurt. I'll shave the rest later on. I'm that tired. I don't care. And that was it for the day. I'll shave it later.
I don't know how you got away with that. That is
phenomenal. This is the thing. You've got to not care. This is what, and this is my mentality very much now. Things are only important if you put value on them. So it's like, I can only be insulted, by you say something, I can only be insulted if I choose to take offense by it. Like, if I don't care, it just does not bother me.
And that also, they can sense that as well. Like, what's your manager going
Yeah.
to shave your head? And you're like, I don't care.
All right.
Like, okay.
I don't care.
Hilarious. And we were going back to the bad gig.
Oh, so what happened was my agent at the time, he was like, you need to have a bad gig. And I agreed with him. I was like, because what's going to happen is, at the minute, these gigs don't really matter. But the more you do this and the bigger you get, the gigs start to matter.
Yep.
And so he would send me to some of the worst places that are like notorious for new gigs, like for new comics that struggle.
Yep.
And he just kept getting this feedback, oh, Emmanuel smashed it. So then he would really, anywhere. And there was one show in Belfast, in Northern Ireland, where I get there thinking I'm doing a middle 20 spot. And at this time, I only had 20 minutes of material, just. And I mean, if I spoke slowly, I had 20 minutes of material. And we get there, and the promoter's going through the running order. He went, right, so you're opening, you're doing a middle 20. Emmanuel, you're doing the closing 40-minute set. I was like, I'm sorry, what? He goes, yeah, you're doing a 40-minute set. And at that point, I didn't say anything. I was like, yeah, cool. And I got straight on the phone to my agent. I was like, dude, they think I'm doing a 40-minute set. And my agent just went, and put the phone down. And I was just like, oh my God, what has he done? And I was like, all right, well, do you know what? It's sink or swim now. Like, I'm here. What choice do I have? I'm going to have to do a 40-minute set. So I did my normal set slower. I then added in all the new bits that I wasn't confident in, but now I have to be.
Yep.
And I got through the 40-minute set. And it was awesome. And he was furious. And then we had this joke, this ongoing joke, because I was like, imagine if I never have a bad show, then we get to Live at the Apollo, and that's my first bad gig. And we used to laugh at it because we go, oh, that will never happen, because we weren't even on the radar for Live at the Apollo at this point. This is just a pipe dream. Yep. Fast forward, I'm now on Live at the Apollo, getting ready to go on. We've just done the tech rehearsal. We're getting ready to start the show. And my agent comes up and goes, remember when we used to joke about you coming to Live at the Apollo and this is your first bad set? Have a good show, mate, and walks off. I was like, oh, wonderful. And then you get, welcome to the stage, Emmanuel Sonubi. So you watch my first episode on the Apollo, and the fear in my eyes, I'm trying to hide it with this smile. But as I walk out on stage, just the look on my face, because he's just said that to me.
Well, so I appreciate him doing everything else, but not Live at the Apollo. And we'll talk about that. That's too far. The rest are funny. I also heard another story, and maybe it's the same one, where you were meant to do a gig and the MC, the other comedian, I think 3 people pulled out. And so you had to do the full hour. So you tell the story. I'd love to know what you learned. You learned a few things from this. Do you know what
Oh my God, about? Yeah. So yeah, this is in Rotterdam. This is in Rotterdam. So we're out in Holland. And it was the Rotterdam International Comedy Festival. And again, I hadn't been going that long. And we get there, and that day there was loads of problems with the flights. So there was me and 2 other comics on, and it got to the point where the promoter is panicking because I'm the only one that's made the flight. The other 2 are now cancelled. They're not going anywhere. He can't find any comics. And he said, Emmanuel, would you be up for doing the whole hour? I'll pay you for their shows as well. All I heard was triple money. Yes. Yes, I'm doing this. And it was about 10 minutes before the show that reality set in. And I was like, you haven't got an hour of material. I was like, why would you say yes to this? And the panic really set in. I was like, you're in another country where English is their second language, and you've just said you're going to do an hour of comedy when you've got a 30 max. But I've said yes now. The show's about to start. And so I've gone on stage. I was like, right, guys, just let you know, this is going to be the order. You were meant to have 3 of us here, but as you know, the flights have been delayed. So rather than 3 comics doing 20 minutes, it's just me doing an hour. You're welcome, by the way. Now, and and that got a little bit of a laugh.
Yeah.
And then I said to her, but here's something I need you guys to know. I said yes to doing this hour show, but I've only got 20 minutes of material. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to do my 20 3 times as slowly. And I'm going to need you guys to laugh 3 times as much. I was like, I'll guide you through it. So this is already getting laughs. And literally, I would tell a joke quite slowly, which got the laugh. And I would just stand there looking at my watch. I was like, no, keep going. Oh,
that's
keep no, more. And then I'll go into the next one. And little bits like that, it just became sort of this crowd work. That's when I learned to do a bit of crowd work. But it was just having confidence in your pauses, letting them laugh. And knowing and being just in the room. Because what happens, and I see this with a lot of comics, especially at the beginning, they go through their sets so fast because they've got this window and they just want to get from the start to the end of the whole set. If you do that, we've won. We've got there. Whereas now, when I'm in comedy clubs now, and I've done this for years, I don't turn my watch on. I say, give me a light when it's 19 minutes, and I will just get up and start talking, and whatever bit I'm on when the light comes on is the last bit that I tell. But there's no set. I'm not doing a set piece. I'm going to do a compilations of different jokes depending on what the room is going for, what kind of room it is, what's already been said. So I don't actually plan my set until I walk on stage.
Wow. And going back to that experience, I just think that's so good on the fly. And that's probably why you never had a bad gig, because even in those moments where maybe there's pauses or uncomfortable situations, you're able to, on the fly, through all of the skills and your comedic talents, stop that from happening. Because I'm sure there have been moments where it could have got there, but you've cultivated all of these skills to stop it.
Yeah.
You're never going to non-stop laughs the entire time.
Come to my show.
Melbourne Comedy Festival. It's in the episode notes. We will talk about your show, but also that would have taught you timing. That's just such a great, that story is such a great story, not even just for stand up, but for life as well.
You learn a bit of patience, a little bit of confidence does so much as well. And just being comfortable in who you are and what you're saying. Like, I've had people ask me, do you change your material depending on where you are? I'm like, no, because I don't change. I'm there for me to be me. Yeah. And I do think I did this one show where it was what's called a red letter day. So it was this flower arrange, like people sign up to do this sort of special occasion thing, and it was flower arranging, and so there were about 300 people there, and out of those 300 people, 3 of them were men. So this was a show for basically 297 women. And when they introduced me, they didn't say comedian, they just said your entertainment for this afternoon. So I've walked on taking my jacket off. So they were like, here comes the stripper. And they're already cheering before anything's happened. I was like, I'm going to be honest, you guys are not getting the show you think you're getting. I was like, you are overselling this right now. And I told people afterwards what would happen. They were like, so you just did a show for all women. They were like, did you have to change your material? I was like, no. And that's the first time I really thought, if I had to change my material just because it's just women there, then there's something wrong with my material. Because they're still just people.
That as well, and also you being true to yourself, knowing what your jokes are about and the authenticity. That's so great. I've written 1,000 points on this. I don't even know where to where we go from this. With new material, I know that you're talking about nerves and it becoming potentially a thing for you. When you have to do new material, it takes a lot of courage, because you could just do your bits that are going to kill. How do you go with new material and also having at the back of your mind read the nerve?
So there's different times I do new material. The big time I do new material is if I'm in a bad mood. If I'm in a bad mood, so if something's happened, comedy is where I go to when comedy is my happy place. And I've had people ask me, do you ever have to perform when you're in a bad mood? And like, performance is what I go to do because I'm in a bad mood and I need to deal with it and get over it. So I go to my happy place. But when I am in that mood, I don't want that show to be an act. So I don't want to do the joke I've done 1,000 times. I need something new. I want to be in the room with everyone as well. So I will just go, I'm going to go and do new material. Or if I'm like halfway through a set and I think, oh, they're going to go for this, I'm going to do this joke. Because most of the time, by the time my joke gets to stage, I've workshopped it so many times with myself. Going, do I think, why is this? Because sometimes it's like Chappelle said once, I'll have the punchline first, and I'm trying to figure out how to get there.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Like I know the punchline's funny. It's going, what medium am I going to present that punchline in?
Interesting. Maybe I've just looking at my notes. I think I've written at least 50. I think we'll be lucky to get the last 2 or 3. But, you're talking about happiness. I want to tie that in, and we were speaking about Live at the Apollo. And for people maybe not in the UK, they might not realize that that's like the gig. I think you had on your fridge that was a goal. I have a quote of yours. When everyone asked what I wanted to do, I told them Live at the Apollo within 5 years of starting comedy. A lot of people told me I couldn't do it. I did it in 6 years, but that's including the pandemic. Can you tell me about where that knowing came from and what that moment was like to actually get that call?
Oh, I didn't know. I believed. That's the thing. I didn't know I was ever going to do it. I believed I would. Even the set that I wrote for that show, I wrote that 2 years before I did it. Before I did the show, I had that set planned. I knew. I was like, if I get that job, that's the set that I'm doing. So I worked that set, so I knew that it would be bulletproof. And then the year that I did it, I found out that I was doing that show 3 days before I did that show.
Oh, they don't give that much. Okay.
They do. So the second time I did it, I knew a few months beforehand. But the first time I did it, because I think someone else was meant to do the show. And someone else was meant to do the show, and I can't remember why, but they were unable to. And then the stars just aligned. I'd been doing tour support for an act called Jason Manford and an act called John Bishop, two amazing UK comedians. And their manager, Lisa, she's really lovely. She's good friends with my agent. And they'd been trying to get me on Live at the Apollo for a while. And the producers had been to see me, but purely just because things like the pandemic happened, they had a backlog of acts that they were going to be put through for it. And then on this specific day, with my agent trying to call them to see what the situation was, is when they found out that this other act wasn't able to do it. And then it was then that they were like, call Emmanuel. You've seen Emmanuel, you know he can do this. He's local. He's from London. Call Emmanuel. And they were like, do you know what? Yeah, we'll give him a shot. And so then my agent calls me up and he goes, I'm coming to see you on Tuesday. This is how he told me. He goes, I'm coming to see, and my agent lived like probably about 150 miles away. He's in the north of the country.
Oh,
so I'm London? Thinking, what?
London, like
middle? So London's southwest.
Okay.
And he's near Liverpool, which is up towards the north.
Yeah. And
it's about 4 hours away driving. And he goes, I'm coming to see you on Tuesday. And I'm thinking, why are you coming to see me? Well, I'm like, what are you coming down here for? He goes, I'm coming to see you for your gig. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm looking at my diary. There's nothing in my diary. I was like, I haven't got a gig. He went, you have. You're at the Apollo. I was like, you shut your mouth. I was like, that's how you tell me. I was like, are you guys you're doing the Apollo? And literally that's how he told me. And it was like, and actual, that was the dream. That was the goal.
And I think I heard you say, but like briefly, so I didn't quite understand it. Did you have it on your fridge, like as a thing to remind you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, can you is
Uh,
that something that you do in your life?
not all the time, but it was just something that I look at there, and I was like, I want to do this. And this was the thing. Even when I first started comedy, I always said that's the goal. Live the Apollo is the goal. And the first agent I worked with, and this sort of made me lose faith in them a lot, actually, because I said to them, they said to me, "What do you want to do in comedy?" And my first thing was, I said, "Live the Apollo, and I want to do it in 5 years." And they were like, "That's not going to happen." And as soon as they said that, I lost complete faith. I was like, "Well, you're not the person to get me there." Because I even said to them, "I don't mind how hard I have to work. I've never had an issue with that. I will do the work. I'm looking for someone that can get me there." And they were like,
But
"Yeah,
did you have
that's
this
never going to happen." Yeah,
did you
I
have
had
this
this conversation
conversation
with
in the
them.
moment,
Yeah,
or
I
you
had
went
this
through a
conversation
process?
with them where I'd said to them that I'll do the work, but I'm looking for someone that can get me there. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, there are acts that we waited sort of 20 years to do this, and and they were just really sort of kind of taught me out of it, if you like. So I came and worked with them
Wow.
because they're getting me certain jobs, but I had no intention of ever staying with them. And then when I met my current agent, Brett, I said the same thing to him. I want to do Live the Apollo, and I want to do it in 5 years. And the first thing he said to me went, "Okay, well, if you want to do that, these are the kind of gigs that we need to get you on. These are the people we need to get you in front. Like, it's going to be a long slog, um, but this is the path we need to do." So we sat down and we mapped out the path that we need to do, and we stuck to it. But the fact that he didn't shut me down,
Yeah.
and he was, "Okay, this is how," and plus he knew the roadmap. And I thought, this is the guy.
That is such an important lesson, because sometimes,
Yeah.
you get an agent or a manager. I've spoken about this a few times, but I got offered a TV developmental deal, and I thought, they're offering me this. This is the only pathway. And then with a bit of maturity, something we said, if someone's not going to be your cheerleader and work with you
Yeah.
to get that goal, it's like being in a toxic relationship. There might be other positive aspects, and I'm sure there
Yeah.
are other great moments. But if you don't have that belief, then it's not going to work.
My agent gave me something that nobody else gave me at that point, which was criticism. That was the thing that I really needed, because these first gigs, I was literally turning up and just smashing gigs out the park, but it was making me so nervous. So I'd always ask my agent at the time. I was like, "Right, what are the notes?" Especially, and that's me being very musical theatre. After a show, give me the notes. What are the? I need the notes so I can make the show better.
Yep.
And every time I'd ask them, "No, no, no, it's fine. It was great." I was like, they laughed, but there must be something. Like, I'm not learning any, and I'm getting more nervous because I keep getting told that you're going to have these bad gigs. So I'm like, I maybe what if I only think I'm good and it's going badly? What have you heard? And they're like, "No, no, no, it's all fine." And it was annoying because I was like, I'm not learning anything from this, and I now am paranoid because I'm like, it can't be that great. It's not going to be great all the time. Like, there's going to be, what am I missing? And then when Brett came to see my first show, he came to see me do he'd been introduced to me, and he came to see me do a show, a 10-minute gig at a club called Top Secret in London.
Yeah,
And everyone laughed at every joke that I did. It was one of those evenings where I'm on stage thinking, I have crushed this in front of this prospective agent. This is going to be awesome. Like, everyone was barely laughing through the whole set. And I came off, and in my mind, I came off thinking, he is about to sign me so quickly, because that was the thing of legends.
yeah.
And I walked up to him and I was like, "Right, what did you think?" And he wasn't even like, he was happy, but he literally just went, "Your closing joke needs to be your opening joke, because that make a much stronger tie. You need to put this towards the middle. There's a few punchlines
Oh,
you need to
wow.
look at and work on there." And he had this breakdown of my entire set. And I remember, sort of, first of all, my brain was crushed. because I was like, that was an amazing set. They laughed. And then you realise it's more than that. It's not just about, are they laughing? It's more than that. And then I started to listen to him because I was thinking, this dude has watched so much comedy that I'm going to listen to this. And we noted down my whole set. We reorganised it. And I just thought to myself, and it is like, this is the humility that I've been taught. You've got to try it because that person has watched more comedy than you. You can't be arrogant enough. You can't be arrogant enough to believe that you are always right. So try it. At least you know if it doesn't work. So I rewrote the set as he mentioned. Went on stage the next day, did the exact same show, but in his order, and took the roof off the place.
Wow.
At that point, I was like, he's the one.
I'm surprised that he's never done stand-up, given the analysis.
Oh, yeah, he's an agent through and through. So, and that's another reason why I haven't had that bad show, because all of my jokes now, I run through him first. We sit down, I'm like, I've got this bit, and I know if I tell him the bit and he laughs out loud, it's a good joke. Yeah. And he'll do this laugh where he'll just go, ha! And as soon as I hear that, like when he's in the room, when I hear that laugh, I'm like, it's a good joke. I've got him. Someone who watches so much comedy, you end up not laughing because you laugh inside because you know the mechanics of how it's working.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant.
So when you get them to laugh out loud, you go, yeah, that joke works.
That's amazing. And it just shows having a good team as well. That's so important for areas of life.
Yeah. I don't think, like, no, when people go, oh, I'm self-made. Nobody is self-made. It took a team of people for me to be me. And when I talk about, because I've done shows and I say, because I always say things like, when we did the Apollo, when we've done this tour, because I didn't do this on my own. Like even the Edinburgh Fringe, I had the easiest first Fringe purely because I had a team of people that made it the easiest first Fringe. So I didn't have to worry about anything.
But you're also an amazing flyerer, I believe. I think so that would have helped as well.
Oh, we love a sell. We love a little sales pitch.
Amazing. Well, we'll see if we come back to the flyering, but I know that was also really important, and you used your sales, as you said, and it became a thing for you, and you sold out a lot of shows. But I want to talk about your current show that's coming out, because it actually ties in so nicely to all of the things that we've spoken about. You mentioned like being in a bad mood and processing. Your show, Life After Death, I believe it's the one. I think just
Life After Near Death.
Oh, sorry.
Life After Near Death.
Thank you for the clarification. And this is really interesting to me. We could speak about this for hours. We'll have to do a part 10. I have another quote of yours. You said, for ages, I was putting off writing about it, but I knew I had to. It ended up being the best therapy I could have ever have done. So what made you want to talk about this?
It was when I first started to write this show, I knew it was something that I needed to speak about just because you need to process these things. And people had asked me, because I touched on it on other shows, and people kept asking me about the heart failure and the heart disease. So when I started writing it, I wrote it just as a generic hour of what I was kind of thinking. And then what happened actually, so no one actually knows this. I had an accidental therapy session. And it really was accidental.
Okay.
I had this podcast. I did this podcast series about the TV show The Traitors. So we were having different guests on to talk about the show. And one of them was a lady called Ellen McChrystal, who followed me on Instagram. And I saw that she had a very big following and she was a fan of The Traitors. So I've reached out to her and said, hey, would you like me up for being a guest on our podcast? And she said, yes. She was like, I love the show. Yeah, I'll do it. Then she messaged me back saying, I've got a podcast. I'll make you a deal. If you do mine, I'll do yours. I was like, yeah, why not? I love a podcast. I'll be up for this. didn't look into it any further than this. She then did our podcast, and then fast forward, I'm getting ready to go and do her podcast, and I thought, let me just see what the podcast is about. And that's when I found out that she's a psychotherapist that specializes in childhood trauma. I was like, oh, I'll be fine. I'm a comedian. I've got no issues. And we did this interview, and the whole way she has a beautiful way of having conversations. And this whole interview, she was sort of probing, but not too much. But while we're talking, I can feel myself lying. I can feel myself giving the bog standard questions and answers that I'd always taught myself to give. So there were like these
defense mechanism, or
it was a complete defense mechanism where everything she's saying, I'm giving the standard response that I had for anyone that asked me questions like this. And I could feel the lies, and I was just like, I'm not enjoying this. And then after we stopped recording, we carried on talking, and it got deeper, the conversation, and I can still feel like we started talking about like my dad and things like that. And I was just like, I got to the point, I was like, do you know what? I can't do that. And I just broke. And I was like, I cannot keep lying. Like, this is horrible. And I just broke and told her everything.
Wow.
And it was such a release. Like, I was in bits at this point. It was such a release to let it out that when I got home and I was reading through my set, I was reading through this new show I was writing. I was like, you're still lying. All of this whole show is a lie. Everything you've written down, I was like, and I stopped it there and just rewrote the whole show, and then just kept rewriting it. And everything that I would sort of stop at going, I don't want to talk about this, was the stuff I now have to talk about.
Because of that
and
moment.
It was because of that moment. So even now, I've become hyper aware when I know I'm not being honest. It even changed how I write my jokes. Because what had happened was, I had told, so I don't make up anything. Everything that I talk about has happened. But because I've told this joke so many times, that version of the joke has now become my core memory. So I've got things that have happened that I can't remember exactly how it happened because of how I tell a joke about it. So now when I write stuff, before I write the joke, I write out exactly what happens. Then I write the joke about it.
That's so smart, because it's so easy to lie to ourselves if you repeat.
Yeah.
Like, as a kid, you're embarrassed. I don't know, maybe you failed a subject, whatever, doesn't matter. But I did this heaps. And you keep on telling everyone you got an A. And then you tell the next person you got an A. Then you genuinely believe that. And that actually becomes your reality. It's so
I did the same thing. I did the same thing with my studies. So, and I got 9 GCSEs, which was like this. The 9 GCSEs is like the standard like first qualification you get at 16.
Okay.
So, and the grades was, I got 6 Bs and 3 Cs in this, all my grades. But I told people that I got 9 GCSE grades A to C, which is technically true. But that's how I would twist it.
Yeah.
And oh yes, I went to college and I did these A levels. No, I didn't. I studied them and I got half the grade. But I've now become more hyper aware when I'm having conversations with people, and my brain will go, no, that's not how that happened. So I've become a lot more open with it now. And because I don't like that feeling of going, you know that's a lie. You're deceiving that person right now.
That's amazing, because yes, it's also about the other person, but it's also about yourself. So you live a more authentic life. And does it feel way more freeing, even though you're more vulnerable?
Oh God, it's amazing. It's amazing. Oh, cool. So the way that I picture it. So these 3 shows that you see behind me. My first show was just an hour of comedy. It was fun. My second show was just another hour of comedy, and it was still fun. But when I look back at the essence of what's in that show, there's nothing to not like. I don't let anybody in. It's just that there's no, I don't give any opinions on anything. There's nothing to go, oh, I don't think I like what you said. There's nothing even there's no joke that you go, oh, that's a bit too far. There was none of that. There was nothing to not like in either show. Whereas this show, because I'm being open, there are opinions. There are opinions that you might not agree with. There are going to be things that you might not like. There's all the jokes that I find hilarious, which some of are so dark, but they really make me laugh.
Oh, that's great. And after all this time as well, that you can still laugh as well. That's great.
Yeah, because I know what worse looks like. So I'm now, but my biggest fear was dying on stage until I nearly died on stage, and now it doesn't matter.
So isn't that quite freeing as well?
Yeah.
That's so
you go, what's the worst that's going to happen? I know what's the worst that's going to happen.
That's so interesting. And I know the process of recovery was quite hard, and you speak about it in your show. So everyone is forced to see it, especially if they're in Melbourne or around the world. As I said, they're in the episode notes below. But writing this show, how cathartic was it for you? And then I also want to hear about the recovery process as well.
Really, really cathartic. And it was, so when I did the show at the Fringe, and this was something the reviewers missed, which is, I've never really been, I never really take reviews as gospel at all, because I can read it and go, there's parts of this that you've missed, where people have said, one reviewer said he didn't really talk about how he felt about the heart failure. I was like, well, for one, I do. But the main thing is the show isn't about that. The show's about life after it. They'll go, what happens after you've gone through this? Because that's the big difference. This was just the catalyst. This could have been anything.
Yeah.
It's very much about, now that this has happened, now what do we do? Because the recovery, this part isn't in the show, was one of the angriest I've ever been. It was a very tough thing to go through, because coming out of hospital, all of a sudden, I wasn't allowed to do any of the things that I would normally do to relax. So I came out of hospital, and I remember there was this one day, and it's so stupid, I couldn't find the remote control for the TV. And it just got me so angry. So then I was like, right, I need to calm down. I'm going to go outside and have a cigarette. Oh, wait, I'm not allowed to do that. All right, do you know what? I'm going for a drink. Oh, no, can't do that. I'm going to the gym. No, not allowed to do that. I'm going for a walk. Can't do that. Can't play rugby. All these things that I would normally do to de-stress, all of my coping mechanisms have now been taken away. And I just sat there in this ball of rage because I couldn't do anything about not finding this remote control. And I'm sitting there literally just shaking, and I'm shaking and I'm crying, and I cannot do anything. And it was like, you're going to have to find a way, because this isn't sustainable.
Wow.
Because I never used to speak about anything.
Oh, so do you see it now with time as a blessing in disguise, in a sense?
Yeah, yeah. If we'd have had the same podcast 7-8 years ago, it'd have been 15 minutes. You'd have got bored. You'd have asked me questions. You'd have got yes and no. There'd have been parts that I just wouldn't have spoken about. Again, little things, fear of being judged. There's loads of things I don't speak about with being a bouncer, because there were times where there were horrible evenings. There were times where there was like some grotesque violence that I don't want people to think that of me. But even though I'm not that person, you're terrified that people will think you are, because sometimes as well, you believe you are. Like I've got it in my head, and that I'm not a religious person, but if I'm wrong and there is a hell, I'm going to be the new mayor. That's what's happening.
That's so wrong. I hope you realize that. Yeah.
But so in my mind now, I think there's enough bad in this world because of me. I need to put as much good as I can.
We don't need to get into it, but and I don't know your whole life story, but there's significantly way more positives, and we've all done things that we might not be proud of.
Yeah.
But even the small act of being authentic is, to me, because that challenges everyone around you. When you are authentic to other people and yourself, that changes their way to be. They might not like it, but that is a little ripple that has a positive impact. I think
Which is all I try and do now. And I think that's what the show does. Like there was I did a tour show last night of this performance, and there were some guys afterwards, and they were like, do you know what, that was really, really weird to see such a big dude be that vulnerable.
amazing.
I was like, yeah, like, dude, go and talk to your friends, like go and let it out, go and talk to them.
How did that feel when someone said that? Because you've made a mark on him.
That was the point of the show when I go, you've got it. You've got what I was trying to do.
Oh, that's so great. And last question on that before we go and ask how people can follow you. From the recovery, and you said things that would help you de-stress. I know that you quit smoking like that. You still go to gym.
Yeah.
Have you learned other coping mechanisms or other things you've implemented in your life? One being you don't argue with people, which is so smart. Are there any other things, or you can talk about that, any other things that you do to help?
These conversations, these I think are the best things. And I write stuff down as well. I get it. I get it out of me. You've got to let that energy go. And it's a lot of things is down to perception. It's things that we're told versus things that we can actually believe. So, for example, we're told that envy is bad. And I never used to know the difference between envy and jealousy.
Same.
Envy being about the thing, jealousy being about the person. So you realize you're not jealous, you're envious. It's not the person that's annoying you, it's the thing. And we are told, oh, because you think envy, one of the 7 deadly sins. So we think to ourselves, if I'm envious, I'm the bad person. And then you internalize that. And then you start being more negative to yourself. When reality is, it's just a feeling. And it's how you use that feeling. So there'll be a time I'll see someone online who's doing something that I want to do. At that point, I've got 2 choices. I can either beat myself up about I'm not doing that and this is unfair, or I'll go and ask them, how'd you do it? And now I'm going to go and do it.
And then you don't end up like all the other comedians shit talking on, can you believe that they got this spot?
Yeah.
Like,
there's times I'll phone my agent. I'll send them. Have you seen this? I was like, how do they do that? Like, how can we do this? How can we get that done? They go, all right, let's just add it to the list.
I actually think envy is, sorry for interjecting, I actually think envy can be, as you said, so positive because it shows you what you want in your life. And as long as you're not being like, fuck them, they got that, they don't deserve it, all of these things. But saying, that person got that, it's a possibility. How do I get there?
Yeah.
To me, it's like how you learn from things you don't like. To me, it's a sign. Yeah.
Everything, I think positive and negative can be just where you stand. And a lot of it can be a choice. So I choose to take the positive out of things, even down to like the stories that I tell in this show. I choose to take the positives out of those.
What a life-changing experience through something which will scare, including me, everyone on the entire planet, and to take away all of these things.
It was terrifying. Like, because you think one thing that I do know, because I realized I'm still telling the fairy tale version of what happens. And so I say I went through heart failure, and I talk about that. And I say I went through because that's now past. I still have heart disease. I still have cardiomyopathy. And that's the part that I have to be more open to sharing because it's still there. And every now and again, the dark part of my brain would just go, imagine if today's the day your heart just goes, nah, I'm done. Imagine if it's today.
Yeah.
It makes the day special.
Oh, okay. Wow. And this will be the last question before we go and ask how people can follow you. Any advice you've got to people that perhaps are, maybe health-wise they're, similar situation to you, or just health-wise they're scared, they've gone through something, how to live maybe their best life?
Listen to your body. Listen to your body. Your body knows, and it's very easy to sort of ignore signs. But that thing I say to people, treat your body like you treat your car. No one puts the wrong petrol in their car. You look after your car. Everyone does, because you want it to last as long as you can. And I think as well, so again, my perception has changed on things like, it's not a question of like, if you've got something hard you want to do, like when I go to the gym now, I don't think of it as, I don't want to run a 5K. I think I get to run a 5K.
What a shift.
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. Very inspiring. Before we go, how can people follow you, keep up to date with you, and see your shows?
All of my stuff is on either emmanuelstandup.com or it's my handle, Emmanuel Standup, on Instagram, on everything.
Amazing. I'm going to put that in the episode notes below. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. You are super inspiring, got so many positive reflections, and I really appreciate this.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
I love how Emmanuel spoke about being forced to rethink how he deals with stress during his health journey. The usual outlets he relied on were no longer available, so he had to find another way, a new way, something different, something more sustainable. What he discovered is the power in speaking up. Opening up to the right people in the right environments became not just an outlet, but something genuinely healing and transformative. What really stood out is how he carried that forward, whether it's on stage or in conversation with friends. He leans into that vulnerability, and I think that's powerful, because for a long time, especially as men, there's been a stigma around talking about what we're going through. Emmanuel challenges that. He shows that strength isn't in staying silent, it's having the courage to speak. So I'll leave you with this epic quote. Healing starts the moment you speak. Anonymous. Thank you for listening to the Funny and Failure podcast, exploring the deeper side of comedy and life.